Here is another one of those problems that some of our viewers are having, and that's figuring out exactly where they can relocate bathroom fixtures to. In a building with a concrete slab, if you have a raised floor foundation or a foundation that has wood framed floor joist and sheathing with a crawl space, you can usually go under the house and simply measure the pipes to see if they're going to work for you or not. However, if you have a concrete foundation, you're going to have to do some detective work, and I strongly recommend doing this before and not during the construction of your project, if at all possible. I do understand that sometimes it's going to be the only way, but before you do that, let's just go ahead and take a look at a few things you need to consider. And number one would be that you really don't know how much the pipes are going to be sloping, whether it's 1/4 of an inch per foot or 1/8 of an inch per foot for a 3 or a 4-inch pipe. The most common pipe that you're going to have running through your house is going to be a 4-inch pipe. And if you have a situation where the plumbing pipes are close to being maxed out at the end of the plumbing line, then you're probably not going to be able to add fixtures in this area. You might be able to add fixtures in this area or closer to the front of the house where the drain line goes out of the house and towards the sewer. And the reason for that would be whether or not you can actually install a pipe that's going to have enough slope to it to drain the water. And that's the key. If you have something like this, which is going to be rare, by the way, because most plumbers aren't going to do the extra digging and refilling all of this, recompacting the soil, that's not going to happen most of the time. And even in the house that I live in, my toilet is maxed out. I cannot add another fixture in the area at the back of the house without going outside and around the house, all the way around the house to the front yard main drain line. So here's the first thing I want you to do. You should have a clean out located at the back of the house. And that's going to look something like this. Or it could be located in the wall. And you can do this a few different ways by using a tape measure. Do not stick anything in these pipes that could possibly fall into it. And if you're going to hold a tape measure, make sure that the tape measure is over here somewhere and the tape is going down. You are not holding your tape measure over this hole. Or use some type of a stick, something that is long enough, something that is not going to fall into the pipe. And I cannot stress this enough. And then you're just simply going to measure down. You could take a stick that was 4 foot long, for example, not going to fall in the pipe, and slide it down to its deepest point and then pull it out and measure it. And what you're trying to figure out is the distance between the top of the floor inside the house and either the bottom or the top of the pipe. And hopefully that makes sense. So you're just simply either going to go into the pipe or measure down from the top of the floor. And you could always measure from the roof. You don't need to measure from the foundation. A lot of times you're not going to know what the foundation floor height is. You're going to have to somehow measure from the bottom of the siding to the bottom of the floor, somewhere near the threshold if you have one. So basically, if I have 8 3/4 inches here and I have a 4-inch pipe, I could either do some math, grab a few fittings, measure them, or just simply lay it on a floor and assemble it. And you're going to have to include the slope in the pipe. And in this example here, I think I have an 8-foot long pipe. And since I'm using a 4-inch pipe, I can just simply multiply that by 1/8. That's going to give me 1 inch. I can grab some scrap wood, build this up an inch high, and then set the plumbing pipe on top of it to where I have something with the slope in it. And then I'm just going to measure the distance that I need here. If this right here is less than 8 3/4 of an inch, I'm good to go. If it's more than this number here, I won't be able to relocate or add new plumbing fixtures. Now, another thing I want to point out is that we've measured from over here. If I come in a foot, I need to add 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch to that number, because for every 1 foot I run horizontally, I'm going to drop 1/8 of an inch. making this number longer the farther I go in from the back of the house. And if I come in more than that, 1/8 of an inch times 7 is going to be 7/8 of an inch. So if my measurement wasn't working here, and I could redesign the project to make it work by relocating the pipes to a different part of the home, then that should work also. Just don't forget, if you're moving the pipes, you're going to need to compensate for the measurements along the way. And another thing that I use a lot will be to run it at a 45-degree angle. And I went ahead and did the calculations for it. We're going to save 5 feet in length instead of coming off of this pipe at a 90-degree angle. So instead of having 18 feet here, or 9 foot plus 9 foot, I'm going to have about 13 feet here, saving us 5 foot in length, and it's 5 less feet we're going to have to jackhammer and dig out to install our new pipe. And hopefully all of this makes sense, because I cannot tell you what a nightmare it will be for you if you don't pre-calculate these measurements before actually starting on your project.